The chamber stretched vast and circular, filled with beings from 100 different worlds. Each stranger than the last council speaker, Vrenak, stood at the center podium, his chitinous plates gleaming under the artificial lights that mimicked a dozen different suns. He was Churith, insectoid and proud, his compound eyes scanning the assembled delegates with barely concealed contempt. The matter before them seemed simple enough. The human colony on New Harmony refused to surrender mining rights to dilithium, deposits that the council had declared universal property. These humans grow too bold. Vrenak's voice clicked and buzzed through the translation matrix. They claim ownership of resources that belong to all civilized species. In the human delegation section, Ambassador Chen Wei sat with his weathered hands folded on the table before him. He was old now, nearly 80 years by Earth reckoning, and he had served in the Galactic Council for 30 of those years. He had watched the council grow more arrogant with each passing season, more dismissive of the warnings embedded in their own archives. The humans have had 2 months to comply, continued as Alcarian delegate, their blue skin shimmering with agitation. Their refusal constitutes an act of rebellion against council authority. Chun Wei raised his hand, requesting permission to speak. Vrenak's mandibles clicked in annoyance. The protocol demanded recognition. Ambassador Chen, you may address the council. The old man stood slowly, feeling the weight of his years and the burden of what he knew must come. Honored delegates, I urge caution in this matter. His voice was steady despite the trembling in his hands. New Harmony is a colony world, yes, but it is also home to 15,000 civilians, including families with children. Is the human ambassador suggesting that civilians grant them special privilege to violate council law? Vrenak interrupted. His tone dripping with mockery. Laughter rippled through various delegations. Chen Wei's jaw tightened. I am reminding the council of the first law, he said quietly. It was established 300 years ago for a reason. More laughter. Louder this team. A Dravian delegate, amphibious and ancient, waved a webbed hand dismissively. The first law is ceremonial, a relic from a more superstitious age, the Dravian croaked. Surely the ambassador does not expect us to base modern policy on human mythology. It is not mythology. Chen Wei's voice rose, carrying an edge that made some of the older delegates shift uncomfortably. It is history, and those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Yes, yes. Vrenak cut him off again. We have all heard human platitudes, Ambassador. The vote will proceed. Chen Wei looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates who had once listened to him, who had once understood. But those delegates were gone now, retired or dead, replaced by a younger generation that saw humanity as just another minor species. No different from the hundreds of others. The vote was swift and decisive. The council authorized what they called a precision enforcement action. The Zalkarian Fourth Fleet would travel to New Harmony and conduct a limited strike against government facilities to force compliance. Chen Wei stood again. As the vote concluded, I beg the council to reconsider. His voice cracked with emotion he could no longer contain. Please, if you take no other action, ensure that no civilians are harmed. Ensure that the children, the humans, will have 48 hours to evacuate civilian areas before the strike commences. Vrenak announced, clearly considering this generous. This council is adjourned. 6 days later, the reports came through. The Zalkarian Fourth Fleet had arrived at New Harmony during what they calculated was local midday. They had bombarded the primary settlement with plasma charges, destroying the Colonial Administration Building, the Resource Processing Center, and the Transport Hub. They had also destroyed the settlement's primary school. 37 children died instantly when the building collapsed, their bodies buried under rubble that still glowed hot from the plasma fire. Their names would be seared into galactic memory before the month was out. Little Marcus Chun, only 5 years old, Amara Washington, who had been teaching younger kids to read. The Kowalski twins, inseparable even in death. Yuki Tanaka, who wanted to be a doctor like her mother. 37 names, 37 futures erased ambassador. Chen Wei received the casualty list in his quarters aboard the council station. His hand shook as he read through the names. Seeing the ages listed beside each one, his sister's granddaughter was among them, Lily Chen, 7 years old, who had sent him a drawing just last week showing the two of them holding hands under New Harmony's purple sky. The old man sat in silence for a long time, the list clutched in his trembling fingers. Then he stood, straightened his formal ambassador's coat, and walked to the council's emergency session with the steady pace of a man marching toward a cliff. The chamber was already in chaos when he arrived. News of the strike's collateral damage had spread quickly, and various delegates argued about appropriate responses. The Zalkarian commander claims the school was being used to store weapons, one delegate protested. Human propaganda exaggerates the casualties, another insisted. Chen Wei walked to the podium without requesting recognition. The breach of protocol silenced the chamber more effectively than any gavel. I stand before you to deliver humanity's final warning, he said, his voice carrying a weight that made even Vrenak pause. You have violated the first law. You have spilled the blood of human children. You believe this will go unanswered because you have forgotten what we are. Ambassador Chen, your grief is understandable, but Vrenak began. 47 children are dead. Chen Wei's shout echoed through the chamber. 47. Do you understand what you have done? The first law was not created to protect humans. It was created to protect you from what humans become when our children are threatened. These threats are, a delegate started. In 72 hours, you will understand. Chen Wei cut through the noise. I have recalled all human ambassadors. I have ordered all human vessels to return to our space. I have closed our borders. Earth sends you one message. Surrender every individual who ordered and executed this attack, or face the consequences our ancestors warned you about. Vranak's mandibles clacked with amusement. The humans believe they can threaten the combined might of the Galactic Council? This is madness born of grief. Chen Wei looked at him with eyes that had gone cold and distant. The madness is yours, speaker. For you have awakened something humanity has worked for 3 centuries to keep sleeping. He turned and walked from the chamber, his footsteps the only sound in the stunned silence within hours. Galactic monitoring stations began reporting something that sent chills through military command across a dozen species. Every human warship, every patrol vessel, every defense platform had simultaneously vanished from all tracking systems. Over 10,000 vessels, including Earth's entire naval fleet, had simply disappeared, as if they had never existed. Deep space became very quiet, very empty, and somewhere in that emptiness, humanity was remembering what it had promised itself to forget. 300 years earlier, the galaxy had looked very different. Humanity had just developed faster than light travel. Crude and dangerous compared to the elegant drives used by established civilizations, but functional enough to carry their small colony ships beyond their own solar system. The Galactic Council had watched with mild interest as these newcomers stumbled into the greater community, their ships barely holding together, their weapons laughably primitive, their understanding of galactic politics non-existent. First contact had been peaceful. If condescending, the Council assigned humanity a small sector of space, resource-poor and far from major trade routes, suitable for a species they classified as emerging but limited potential. Humans accepted gratefully. Seeming humble and eager to learn, they established 3 small colonies within the first year, each struggling to survive on marginal worlds. The Council's xenobiologists noted with academic interest that humans bred relatively quickly and showed remarkable adaptability to hostile environments. But their technology remained centuries behind galactic standard. Then came the Kethrak Empire. Kethrak were warriors by culture and biology. Massive reptilian beings who measured strength in conquest and viewed peaceful species as prey waiting to be harvested. They had been testing the Council's patience for decades, conducting raids on minor species, always stopping just short of actions that would warrant full military response when they learned of humanity. They saw an opportunity. Let us test these primates. Kethrak War Chief Drekkener announced to his council. If the humans fight, we gain worthy combat. If they flee, we gain new territory. The attack came without warning at Kethrak. Battlecruiser intercepted the colony ship Mayflower II in deep space. 3 weeks from its destination, the ship carried 200 families, farmers and engineers and teachers, heading to humanity's fourth colony world. It had minimal defensive capabilities, a few point defense lasers meant for asteroid deflection. Nothing more. Captain Sarah Morrison sent out a distress call. As the Kethrak ship approached, she tried to negotiate, offering to change course, to pay tribute. Anything to protect the families under her care. Megan's response was to open fire. The Mayflower II died slowly. Its hull breached in a dozen places, life support failing section by section. The Kethrak didn't use enough firepower to destroy it instantly. They wanted to watch it suffer, to see if the humans would show courage in death. They broadcasted the attack on open channels, letting the galaxy watch as the colony ship tumbled through space, trailing atmosphere and debris inside the dying vessel. Parents held their children close as the cold of space crept in. 60 children died that day, along with their parents and the crew who tried desperately to save them. The galaxy's response was muted. The Council issued a formal condemnation. Economic sanctions against the Kethrak Empire were discussed and dismissed as impractical. A few species sent condolences to Earth. Most simply noted it as another tragedy in a cratery universe full of them. The Kethrak celebrated their easy victory. What the galaxy didn't see was the emergency session in Earth's deep military bunkers. What they didn't hear was the cold, quiet fury in voices that discussed response options. What they didn't understand was that humanity had been hiding something fundamental about themselves. 300 years before reaching the stars, humanity had waged war against itself with increasing sophistication and horror. They had built weapons capable of ending all life on their planet. A dozen times over, they had developed artificial intelligence that could coordinate attacks across global theaters. They had created bombs that split atoms and turned cities to ash. When humanity finally achieved peace and turned toward the stars, they had made a collective choice. They would hide their true military capability and present themselves as weak, as harmless, as non-threatening. They would be welcomed into the galactic community as students, not as the apex predators they had evolved to become. But that choice came with an understanding. If anyone ever threatened human children, the mask would come off. The Kethrak Empire had a population of 15 billion spread across 7 worlds. Their military was among the most powerful in the known galaxy, with over 3,000 warships ranging from corvettes to super dreadnoughts. Their homeworld, Kethros Prime, was protected by a defense grid that could repel simultaneous assaults from multiple fleets. They considered themselves untouchably 72 hours after the Mayflower II went silent. Every Kethrak military installation ceased to exist, not damaged, not destroyed in conventional terms, but simply erased from existence. Orbital defense platforms around Kethros Prime turned to vapor as weapons fired from distances that should have been impossible. Like battleships in deep space found their reactors simultaneously overloading, their AI systems executing self-destruct sequences they didn't know they contained. Ground-based command centers experienced what could only be described as surgical Strikes from orbit precisely targeted energy beams that vaporized military bunkers while leaving surrounding civilian areas untouched. The Kethrak Military Command tried to mount a defense but discovered with growing horror that they were fighting ghost human ships appeared on sensors for microseconds, fired with impossible accuracy, and vanished before return fire could be coordinated. Missiles launched at human positions found nothing but empty space. The Kethrak tried to locate Earth itself, thinking to strike at humanity's homeworld, but found that every approach vector was covered by defensive arrays they couldn't detect until weapons were already locked onto their ships within 6 hours. Kethros Prime's entire military infrastructure was gone within 12 hours. The same fate had befallen the other 6 Kethrak worlds within 24 hours. The Kethrak Empire's 3,000 ship navy had been reduced to scrap metal and debris fields. The galaxy watched in absolute horror. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive newcomers suddenly demanded answers. How did humans possess weapons? Technology centuries beyond galactic standard. Where had they hidden their fleet? What other capabilities were they concealing? Earth's response was delivered by Admiral James Jang in a broadcast to every council member. You ask how we did this, Jang said, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable menace. You should ask yourselves why we waited. Humanity developed faster than light travel 60 years before we left our solar system. We spent those 60 years debating whether the galaxy deserved to meet us, whether we could be trusted to join civilized society. He paused, letting that sink in. We chose peace. We chose to hide our weapons, to present ourselves as weak, to be students rather than conquerors. But we also chose one absolute line that could never be crossed. The display behind him showed images from the Mayflower to the children's section. The small bodies floating in vacuum. You will never, ever threaten human children, Jang continued. We have eliminated the Kethrak military, not because we desire conquest, but because they needed to understand this truth. We are not your enemies unless you make us so. We are not your conquerors unless you force our hand. But harm our children, and you will learn what 300 years of suppressed military development creates when released. The council convened an emergency session that very day. No debate, no discussion of nuance or political implications. They drafted the first law in unanimous agreement, transmitted it across every network in every language. No hostile action shall be taken against human juveniles, for such action invites total annihilation. The law was inscribed on monuments, added to every treaty, taught in every military academy for 300 years. It stood as the foundation of galactic interaction with humanity. For 300 years, everyone remembered why it existed until the generation that remembered died off, replaced by those who saw the first law as superstition, as human propaganda designed to make a minor species seem more dangerous than they were until the Galactic Council authorized a strike on New Harmony until 47 children died under falling rubble, and now humanity was remembering what it had spent 3 centuries trying to forget. The Zakarian Fourth Fleet returned to their home system as Heroes Commander Talvin gave interviews praising the precision of the strike, the efficiency of his crews, the clear message sent to rebellious colonies across the galaxy. The humans will think twice before defying Council authority again, she declared. Her blue skin flushed with the pride of victory. Council Speaker Vrenak appeared on galactic news networks, dismissing human outrage as emotional theatrics from a species too sentimental to understand galactic politics. The strike was regrettable but necessary, he explained to reporters, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Human civilians were given adequate warning to evacuate. If some chose to remain, the responsibility falls on colonial leadership, not the council. When pressed about the school and the children, He waved a chitinous appendage dismissively. "We are investigating claims about the presence of juveniles, but even if confirmed, this changes nothing about the legitimacy of the enforcement action. The galaxy largely agreed minor species expressed sympathy for the human losses. But major powers backed the Council's authority. Trade continued. Borders remained open. Life went on as it always had, except humanity had gone silent. Every human embassy across the galaxy locked its doors within 24 hours of the strike. Diplomatic staff packed their belongings methodically, professionally, saying nothing to curious colleagues who asked where they were going. "We have been recalled," was all they would say. Their faces expressionless masks. Human merchant vessels, thousands of them trading across hundreds of systems, simultaneously turned toward human space cargo holds, were abandoned mid-delivery, contracts broken without explanation, docking fees left unpaid in the sudden exodus. "It's just grief," economic analysts explained. "They'll return once emotions cool." But then the borders closed. Every jump point leading into human-controlled space went dark. Navigation beacons shut down. Automated defense platforms activated automated warnings, began broadcasting on all frequencies. Human space is now restricted. Any vessel approaching designated borders will be fired upon without further warning. This is not negotiable. Council intelligence services tried to monitor the situation, but their surveillance satellites near Earth went offline one by one. Spy ships sent to investigate never reported back. They simply vanished from tracking as soon as they crossed into human territory. "Let them sulk," Renak announced. "The humans are throwing a tantrum. They'll realize their economic position requires cooperation and reopen relations within a month." But the military reports told a different story, one that terrified those who understood its implications. Galactic Naval Command had been tracking human fleet positions for 300 years. It was standard practice for all Council species. The human navy consisted of approximately 10,000 vessels ranging from small patrol craft to massive carrier groups. Every ship was cataloged, every movement logged, every position known until 48 hours after the New Harmony strike. Then they all disappeared, not just vanished from sensors, which could be explained by stealth technology. They disappeared from every tracking system simultaneously: visual, thermal, gravitational, quantum signature detection. 10,000 warships simply ceased to exist in any measurable way. "It's impossible," a Dravian admiral croaked, staring at tactical displays that showed nothing but empty space where human fleets had been moments before. "You cannot hide ships that large." The mass displacement alone should be detectable, but the displays remained empty. Human space became a black hole in the galaxy's knowledge, impenetrable and silent. Then, 72 hours after the strike, a single human vessel appeared at the edge of Council Station's controlled space. It was a small diplomatic courier. Unarmed and broadcasting peaceful intentions, the Council granted docking permission. Curious about what message humanity would send, a young human captain walked into the Council chambers. Captain Michelle Torres, barely 30 years old. Her uniform crisp and her face completely emotionless. She carried no documents, requested no hearing, simply walked to the center of the chamber and spoke. "I am authorized to deliver the following message from Earth's High Command." Her voice was steady, mechanical, as if reading from a script. "You have 72 hours to surrender every individual involved in ordering and executing the attack on New Harmony. This includes Council Speaker Vrenek, the Zakarian 4th Fleet Commander Talvin, and all officers who participated in targeting decisions." The chamber erupted in outraged buzzing, clicking, and croaking. The audacity! Someone shouted, "Who do these humans think they are?" Another demanded. Vrenak raised his appendages for silence, his compound eyes glittering with amusement. "And if we refuse this absurd demand?" he asked mockingly. Captain Torres met his gaze without blinking. Then you will understand why the first law existed. You will understand what humanity has been protecting you from for 300 years. You will understand why our ancestors warned you never to harm our children. Is that a threat? A delegate challenged. No, Torres replied calmly. It is a statement of inevitable consequence. Humanity does not threaten. Humanity warns, and then humanity acts. She turned to leave, then paused at the chamber entrance. For what it's worth, those of us delivering this message wish you would comply, she said quietly. Not because we fear your retaliation, but because we remember what we're about to become, and we would rather not. We spent 3 centuries building a civilization that valued peace over violence, cooperation over conquest. You are forcing us to remember the species we used to be. 72 hours, she repeated. After that, may whatever gods you pray to have mercy on you, because humanity will not. The captain left the council, voted within the hour. Vote was unanimous. They would not surrender sovereign authority to human intimidation. Let them come, Renak declared. The combined might of the Galactic Council will show these emotional primates that threats backed by nothing but historical mythology have no power here. The Council mobilized their fleets, over 50,000. Warships from a dozen species began moving into defensive formations around key worlds. The Zolkarian 4th Fleet received commendations and reinforcements. Positioned at the edge of Zolkarian space as a symbol of the Council's resolve military, analysts calculated that even if humanity deployed their entire hidden fleet, they would be outnumbered 5 to 1. The odds seemed insurmountable. Exactly 72 hours after Captain Torres delivered her message, the Zolkarian homeworld's orbital defense network stopped functioning, not destroyed. Not damaged, simply stopped. Every weapons platform, every shield generator, every sensor array, every communications relay went dark simultaneously. Zilka Military Command tried emergency restart protocols. Nothing responded. They tried manual overrides. Backup systems, redundant networks, every system showed as active on diagnostic readouts. But none of them would function. It was as if something had reached into the code itself and told everything to just stop. Then, the broadcast began on every screen across the galaxy. On every network, regardless of security clearance. On displays in homes and offices and military command centers. The same message appeared. It showed the faces of 47 children, little Marcus Chun, smiling gap-toothed at the camera, Mara Washington, serious and studious with her books. The Kowalski twins, arms around each other. Yuki Tanaka, wearing the doctor costume she'd gotten for her birthday. Each face appeared for exactly 5 seconds. Their names and ages displayed beneath the cycle repeated endlessly. Each child's face a silent accusation. Then came the voice, broadcast in every language. We gave you the first law to protect you from us, not to protect ourselves from you. The voice was calm, almost gentle, but carried a weight that made hardened warriors shiver. You have forgotten what humanity is capable of when our children are threatened. You dismissed our warnings as mythology. You laughed at our grief. You will not laugh anymore. The screen switched to show Earth, viewed from orbit, peaceful, blue and green and beautiful. This is what we chose to be, the voice continued. A species that builds gardens instead of graves. That teaches children instead of training soldiers. That reaches for the stars with hope instead of conquest. The image changed to show human cities. Parks filled with playing children. Universities full of students. Research facilities pushing the boundaries of science. We spent 300 years becoming this, the voice said. We worked so hard to leave behind what we were. Then the screen went dark except for the list of names, 47 children who would never grow up. You have made us remember. The broadcast ended across the galaxy. Military command centers stared at their tactical displays in growing horror as they realized what the message meant. Humanity wasn't coming. Humanity was already there. They had been there all along. Invisible and patient, waiting for the deadline to pass, and now the 72 hours were up. The first week was methodical, surgical, and absolutely terrifying. Human fleets appeared simultaneously across 12 different star systems, each one containing Zalkarian military assets. They didn't arrive through normal jump points, didn't follow predictable approach vectors, simply materialized in optimal firing positions as if they had been there all along, waiting invisible for the perfect moment. The technology was beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Human warships fired weapons that crossed light years in seconds, hitting targets with precision that made seasoned military analysts weep. A human destroyer positioned 3 light years from a Zalkarian orbital platform could target individual system nodes, disabling weapons without destroying the structure, killing the threat while preserving the lives of the crew. They're not trying to kill us, a Zalkarian officer reported from a disabled station, his voice shaking with the realization they're trying to teach us. Every military installation, every warship, every weapons platform across Zalkarian space was systematically neutralized, not destroyed. Neutralized reactors were forced into safe shutdown modes. Weapon systems had their firing mechanisms fused at the molecular level. Shield generators found their power couplings severed with impossible precision. Navigation systems were scrambled beyond repair, but life support remained untouched. The Zalkarian Fourth Fleet, pride of their navy, lasted 6 hours. Commander Talvin watched in horror as her flagship systems failed one by one. Emergency klaxons wailing as backup after backup proved useless against whatever the humans were doing. Return fire, she ordered. Target anything that moves. But there was nothing to target. Human ships appeared on sensors for microseconds, fired with impossible accuracy, and vanished before weapons could lock. It's like fighting shadows, her tactical officer reported. We can't track them, can't predict them, can't even see them unless they want us to. Then came the broadcast inside her ship, appearing on every screen, spoken in perfect Zalkarian. Commander Talvin, you ordered the strike that killed 47 human children. The voice was female, young, controlled. Your weapons officer executed that order. Your navigator plotted the approach. Your sensor crew identified the target. You are all responsible. Talvin's skin flushed dark blue with fury. I followed lawful orders from the council. And now you will face the consequences, the voice replied. Your ship is disabled. Your fleet is disabled. Your homeworld's defenses are disabled. You have 72 hours to surrender yourself and all crew involved in the New Harmony strike to human custody. Never, Talvin shouted. Then you will sit here in your disabled ship and watch as we demonstrate what mercy looks like. The voice said, we could destroy you in seconds. We could glass your homeworld. We could end your entire species before your allies even knew to respond. Instead, we have disabled your military while leaving your civilians untouched. We have given you a choice that you did not give those children. The transmission ended. Talvin sat in her command chair, surrounded by dark screens and silent systems, understanding for the first time what humanity had been trying to tell them. This wasn't about conquest. This was about justice. BROADCASTS continued across the galaxy, running on every network, impossible to block or shut down. The names and faces of the 47 children played on loop, accompanied by new information. Little Marcus Chan had wanted to be a pilot like his father. Amara Washington was learning 3 languages and teaching younger kids to read. The Kowalski twins had been inseparable since birth, finishing each other's sentences. Yuki Tanaka had already been accepted to medical school, despite being only 12 years old. Each child's story, each dream that died under plasma fire, each future erased by the Council's precision strike, Remember their names, the broadcasts repeated. Remember what you made necessary. The psychological impact was devastating. Council species began turning on each other. Minor members who had supported the strikeout of political necessity started demanding investigations. The Dravian delegation formally withdrew support for Vrenak's leadership to Charith homeworld. Saw protests demanding the speaker's resignation, but it was the military analysis that truly shattered galactic confidence. A joint intelligence team from 6 species studied the human attacks, trying to understand the technology being employed. What they discovered made the report classified at the highest levels. Too terrifying to share publicly. The humans are using quantum entanglement targeting, the lead analyst, a Viridian scientist, reported to Council Military Command. They've weaponized instantaneous particle communication to allow targeting across any distance, without light speed delay. That's theoretically impossible, a general protested. We thought so too, the analyst replied, but the math works. They've somehow stabilized entangled particles in sufficient quantities to create targeting locks that transcend space-time limitations. A human ship in one system can fire at a target in another system and hit it with 0 lag. The implications crash down on the assembled military leadership. How long have they had this capability? Someone asked quietly. Based on the sophistication, probably the entire 300 years they've been in the galaxy, the analyst said. They've been using quantum entanglement for communication and scientific research, letting us believe that was the limit of the technology. But if they've had this all along, then they could have conquered the entire galaxy at any point, the analyst finished. Every species, every world, every military installation has been vulnerable to instant precision strikes from the moment humanity developed faster than light travel. Why didn't they? A Zalkarian admiral asked. Because they chose not to. The analyst said simply, their primitive nature wasn't weakness. It was mercy. They were protecting us from themselves. The report concluded with a calculation that made hardened warriors feel sick. If humanity deployed all their hidden capabilities, they could neutralize every military asset in the known galaxy within 72 hours. They weren't doing so because they didn't want to conquer. They wanted. Justice Captain Sarah Rodriguez commanded the human carrier group operating in the Zakarian border system. She was 42 years old, a career officer who had joined the Navy to explore the stars, not to wage war. Her nephew had died on New Harmony. Daniel Rodriguez, age 9, who loved dinosaurs and wanted to be a xenobiologist's school project about New Harmony's native bird species had been found in the rubble. Carefully illustrated pages scattered among the debris. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing disabled Zakarian vessels floating dead in space. Their crews alive but helpless. Status report, she ordered, her voice flat and professional. All targets neutralized. Captain, her tactical officer replied. 0 casualties on either side. Acknowledged, Sarah said. Broadcast a compliance message on all frequencies. Her crew moved with mechanical precision, executing orders without emotion. They had all lost someone on New Harmony. Siblings, cousins, friends, children of friends. They fought not with rage, but with heartbroken efficiency. Professionals doing a job they wished didn't need doing. Captain, her communications officer spoke up. We're receiving surrender requests from 17 Zakarian vessels. They're requesting terms. Terms are simple, Sarah replied. Crew involved in the New Harmony strike surrender to human custody for trial. All other crew will be released unharmed once our justice system has processed the guilty. She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew. They were so young. Most of them, they had joined to explore, to discover, to build bridges between species. Now they were instruments of retribution. I want it noted in the official logs, Sarah said quietly. Every member of this crew performs their duty with honor, but we do not celebrate these actions. We do what is necessary, nothing more. Acknowledged. Captain, her executive officer replied. Understanding in his voice, the Galactic Council was fracturing Vrinker and tried to maintain control, calling for unity against human aggression. But his own species was turning against him. The Churth Council of Elders issued a formal statement denouncing his leadership and demanding he surrender to human demands. The Sarkarian government, watching their entire military rendered impotent within a week, began quiet negotiations with Earth's several minor species that had provided logistical support for the New Harmony strike started handing over their own officers, hoping to avoid becoming the next target. This is madness. Renak shouted in an emergency council session. We are allowing emotional humans to dictate terms to the entire galaxy. Those emotional humans have neutralized the Zalkarian military in 7 days. A Dravian elder croaked. They have demonstrated technological superiority we cannot match. They have shown restraint we should be grateful for. You would surrender our sovereignty. They are asking for justice, not sovereignty. Another delegate interrupted. They want the individuals responsible for killing their children. They could demand so much more. The vote was called 23 species voted to comply with human demands. 8 voted to resist. 4 abstained. Renak was removed from his position by his own delegation within hours. Churth security forces arrested him. Preparing for transfer to human custody, Commander Talvin, watching from her disabled flagship, made her decision. Open a channel to the human fleet, she ordered quietly. 3 weeks after the strike on New Harmony, the shooting stopped. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do with its demonstrated power. Every individual identified as responsible for ordering or executing the attack had been surrendered to Human Authority Council. Speaker Renak sat in custody, his compound eyes dim with the weight of understanding what he had unleashed. Commander Talvin and her entire command crew waited in detention, knowing they would face justice for their actions. The galaxy expected executions, expected humanity to make bloody examples of those who had violated the first law. What they got instead was a trial. It took place not on Earth, not in some human military tribunal, but on New Harmony itself. The settlement had been partially rebuilt, the rubble cleared. The bodies of the 47 children lay to rest in a memorial garden where purple flowers from Earth grew alongside native plants. A temporary courthouse was constructed near the site of the destroyed school. Broadcast arrays were installed so the entire galaxy could watch. The trial was open, transparent, conducted according to human legal principles that the galaxy was only beginning to understand. The accused have the right to defend themselves, the human judge explained on the first day. They have the right to legal representation, to present evidence, to question witnesses. They have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. This confused many galactic observers. Why give them rights when their guilt is obvious? A Churth commentator asked on a news broadcast. Because, a human legal expert responded, justice is not about what is obvious. It is about what is provable, what is fair, what is right. If we simply executed them without trial, we would be no better than they were. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Prosecutors presented evidence, communication logs showing the attack orders, tactical data proving the school was targeted, testimony from survivors describing the attack defense. Attorneys argued that the accused were following lawful orders from legitimate authority, that the council's authorization gave them legal protection. The human judge listened to everything, allowed every argument, permitted every challenge. Galactic observers watched in fascination as humans demonstrated a commitment to process over passion, to law over revenge. On day 14, The jury, composed of New Harmony colonists who had lost loved ones in the attack, delivered their verdicts guilty on all counts. The sentencing phase began immediately. Every Ankh stood before the court, his chitinous frame shrunken with shame, for your role in ordering an attack that resulted in the deaths of 47 children. The judge said, "This court sentences you to life imprisonment with labor. You will spend the remainder of your natural life helping rebuild what you destroyed. Not execution?" Vrenak asked, genuinely confused. "No," the judge replied. "Killing you would be easy. Making you face every day what you took from us. Making you spend your life trying to repay a debt you can never truly repay, that is justice." Commander Talman received the same sentence, as did every officer directly involved in targeting decisions. "You will work alongside human colonists," the judge explained. "You will help build schools for children to replace the one you destroyed. You will construct homes for families. You will plant gardens. You will do everything in your power to create life instead of taking it. And if we refuse," one officer asked, "then you will sit in a cell for the rest of your life," the judge said simply. "The choice is yours. Contribute or languish. Either way, you will never again have the power to harm anyone." The galaxy watched as the convicted were led away, not to execution chambers, but to work details. They would live. They would labor. They would face every single day the consequences of their actions. Many species found this punishment more terrifying than death. A new galactic council convened 1 month after the trial. Concluded the chamber looked much the same, but everything had fundamentally changed. Humanity now held a permanent seat with veto power over all military actions. Earth's new ambassador was Maya Chun, age 28, whose younger sister Lily had died on New Harmony. She stood before the assembled delegates, carrying the weight of her loss and the burden of her responsibility. "My sister was 7 years old," she began, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "She loved to draw. She sent me pictures every week showing New Harmony's purple sky, the strange birds, her friends. In her last drawing, she drew us holding hands under that sky." Maya held up the picture, preserved behind protective polymer. "This is what you destroyed when you authorized that strike," she said. "Not just a military target, not just acceptable collateral damage, a child's dream, a future, a light in the universe that can never be replaced." She set the picture down carefully. "Humanity comes before you today not as conquerors, though we could be," she continued. "Not as destroyers, though we have proven our capability. We come as members of a galactic community that we wish to preserve, to improve, to protect. But we come with non-negotiable terms." The chamber was absolutely silent. "First, the first law is hereby reinstated and expanded," Maya said. "No hostile action shall be taken against juveniles of any species, not just humans. Children are sacred, regardless of their origin. Any violation will be treated as a crime against the entire galaxy." Delegates nodded, understanding in their eyes. "Second, a joint peacekeeping force will be established, utilizing human technology and training to prevent incidents like New Harmony," she continued. "We will share our defensive capabilities with those who demonstrate a commitment to peaceful resolution." This caused murmurs of surprise. The humans were offering to share their technology? "Third, the species responsible for the attack on New Harmony will pay full reparations to the colony," Maya said. "Not as punishment, but as acknowledgement of harm done and commitment to healing." She paused, looking around the chamber, and fourth, a memorial will be constructed on every council world, naming the 47 children who died. Her voice cracked slightly. "You will remember them. You will see their faces every day. You will understand what the first law protects you from." A Dravian elder raised a webbed hand. "Ambassador Chan, why share your technology after we have given you every reason to dominate us?" Maya smiled sadly, because domination was never our goal. She replied, "We didn't write the first law to protect ourselves. We wrote it to protect you from what we become when our children are threatened. We are capable of terrible things." She continued, 300 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves with weapons you cannot imagine. We learned to choose peace over violence, cooperation over conquest. We hid our capabilities because we were ashamed of what we could do. But you need to understand something fundamental about humanity. Maya's voice grew stronger. Our greatest strength is not our technology, not our weapons, not our ability to wage war. Our greatest strength is our capacity for restraint, our choice to be better than our worst impulses. She looked at each delegate directly. We are showing you our true face now. Not to terrify you, but to earn your respect, she said. We could have conquered the galaxy at any time in the last 300 years. We chose not to because we believe in something greater than power. We believe in justice. We believe in protecting the innocent. We believe that strength means nothing without wisdom to wield it. And most importantly, Maya's voice softened. We believe that children, all children, human or otherwise, deserve to grow up in a galaxy that values life over territory, peace over profit, compassion over conquest. The new Galactic Council voted unanimously to accept humanity's terms. The first law was reinstated with expanded protections for all juvenile beings. A joint defense force was established, trained by human military advisors in both combat and restraint reparations, flowed to New Harmony, helping rebuild the shattered colony into something stronger than before. And on 47 worlds across the galaxy, monuments were erected, each bore the names, faces, and ages of the children who died. Each carried the same inscription in every language. They died so the galaxy would remember. Some laws exist not as suggestions, but as warnings. Break them, and you discover why they were written on New Harmony. The memorial garden grew. Human and alien children played together among the purple flowers, laughing and learning. Unaware of the sacrifice that had purchased their safety, a new school stood near the old ruins. Deliberately preserved as a reminder, the convicted worked on construction crews, building homes and facilities, their labor contributing to the colony's Ream Vrenak, once proud council speaker, laid foundation stones alongside human workers. Commander Talvin planted trees in the memorial garden, each one representing a child she had killed. They would never be free, never escape the weight of their choices. But they were alive and given the chance to do better. Sometimes Maya-chan visited New Harmony, standing in the memorial garden where her sister's name was carved in stone. Alongside 46 others, she would trace the letters with her finger, remembering Lily's laugh, her drawings, her dreams of becoming a doctor. We didn't want this, she would whisper to the stone. We didn't want to remember what we were. We wanted to be better. But you showed the galaxy something important. Little sister, Maya continued, you showed them that humanity's mercy is a choice, not a weakness. That our restraint is strength, not timidity. That we can be